and that's fine if you need firewood. But so you ready?
Yep.
Anyway, one of the stories my dad always talked about, in the good old days after races, and Tom Campbell, he won a fair number of races. His name's on a bunch of cups, so everybody'd come over to the house. I mean, your winner's party was at the house, and that was true even the year when I won the Lipton. We had the winner's party here. So people would show up and they would sail over because there weren't that many people, and there was a little beach there, so people would sail over and beach their boats and proceed to consume liberally from, the goal is to see if you can empty the locker. So Dad's memories are later in the evening when people were sure that they weren't going to be sailing home. He'd come and ask if he could sail their boat home or take it home. And so every once in a while, because it wasn't all that windy, later in the evening, he'd get to sail people's boats, home. And he just loved that because he loved sailing. And so he was going, yeah, that was just the greatest thing. I'd wait for him to get drunk and then go ask him, and they'd go, sure. Yeah, take my boat home.
Take them home in the boat, or just take the boat home?
Take the boat home.
Now, was your grandfather Commodore too?
Mm-hmm. RC, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, TP was, yeah. Tom Campbell was, and his dad, RC. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got 3 generations of Commodores.
Yeah. No, I wasn't, so.
Well, we forgive you.
Yeah.
That's right. That was a good run.
Yeah, so everyone else, and the senator wasn't, because there wasn't a club at that point, so.
Any stories from back then in their Commodore ships that you
Nope.
haven't
I never, nope, no, nothing. I don't remember any stories.
Must be fun to have their pictures over there in the
Yeah, well, yeah, and we've got them, it's the same pictures and family albums and, all that sort of stuff, so that's kind of fun. Yeah, and I'm sure they had a great time because they're, the letters and things that Dorothy has. I mean, there's lots of good stories about the fun. Mostly, I think in the winter is when they seem to get together and party more. Yeah. But, once they got a clubhouse, I'm sure, it was kind of fun. Yeah. But, yeah, not my grandfather and people, I don't remember, they didn't talk about stuff. Get together for family things, and that wasn't the topic. And then when I started to come up here, grandparents didn't. They just sort of family thing of turning stuff over to the kids, and then they would go do something else. And so, you'd invite them up on occasion, but they wouldn't come a lot. And the only stories, again from Dad though, he could come up here with people who would open the cabin, and it was a 3-day adventure getting here, or 2 for him anyway. He'd ride the train and then stay up at the lodge for a couple days while people got stuff running and organized here, because we had our own water system even back then, because we still have a little shed down here that we call the pump house because it had a pump in it to pump water out of the lake. And there's a well up the mountain that we used to use too, so so people had to get stuff running.
And then they spent the summer? Or?
They'd spend a big part of the summer. I mean, a lot of people did. The Peaks had come from where
Iowa.
Des Moines.
yeah, Iowa, yeah. And a lot of people would spend, at least a month up here because it was a chore to get here. I mean, and you'd haul all your stuff up, and I know the Halls did. I remember Joyce Hall. Yeah, he had this wonderful little red, white, and blue speedboat. He'd come by and want to take me for a ride, so he'd always have to, ask Mother if it was okay if I could take a ride, and she'd, of course, you don't have to ask all the time. He's going, oh yes I do, because I don't want to be disappearing and you don't know what's happened. So we'd go rip around the lake and bring me back, and and every once in a while you could go and have a root beer at his house.
Were you the only kid he did that with?
I bet he did it to some other people, but he was a regular here. I mean, he would, he'd come by all the time because we were here a lot. And we'd spend usually July and then most of August. this was summer camp for Monty and I.
Sure.
You know, other kids went to summer camp. Well, this was our summer camp, which is great. You know, what a deal. You know, come and spend time in Grand Lake. Yeah, go hike the mountains. Go do whatever. I mean, just make up stuff. You know.
I want to go back to you winning the Lipton Cup because that is amazing. How old were you when you won that with the
Well, when I finally got it, I was 16.
You finally got it?
No, well, actually, I was. Yeah, well, see, I'd won it the 3 years before. We beat everybody, but they wouldn't award it because the thinking was the E's owned the Lipton Cup, you know, that had been given to them, and of course that's not true at all. It's given to the club to be used as the board sees fit. Well, a little misinterpretation. So in '64 I was 19, so.
So you won it for 3 years.
Well, that would have been the 4th year. I should have. I just didn't get it. I beat
Okay.
everybody.
And you did get it 1 year.
Right, 64. The 4th year we beat people.
Okay.
Yep,
And you were
19.
19. And what did you do with that cup? Do you remember who your crew was?
Well,
What
yeah.
Monty, was it just the two of you, basically?
No, I think it was Randy Moore too. I'd have to go look,
Yeah.
but she definitely was Jim.
So what did you do with this?
Put it in a
big thing?
closet, like, I mean, what do you do with that thing? You can't leave it out. We didn't have to put it in a safe deposit vault like I think you do now, right? It's got to be locked up. So we hid it. 'Cause I don't want it stolen. Jeez.
Did your dad ever win the Lipton Cup?
Sure.
Sure.
Sure. Well, yeah. You didn't. The competition was good, but not as many people as there are now. I mean, it's harder to win because look at all the people sailing now, and there's a lot of really, well, there were good people then, but there weren't as many. So I don't want to diminish what it took, but still, there's a competition is, I think, harder now, and certainly is in the M16 class. There's some really good sailors, and the E's, I mean, there's some really good people, and they do well nationally, so, you know, they're good. So to win is a big deal. You know, back then, nobody really sailed that much because, you know, everyone's got jobs, and we don't get to stay up here forever. You know, like most lakes where, you know, people start sailing in March, and they're sailing every day of the week, and you know, we don't get to do that. So.
How about the yacht club? How has the club in general changed over the years?
Well, it's just more people. I think it's good. You know, there's more kids. There weren't nearly as many of us youngins are now. And so when we went and played badminton, it would have been fun if there had been more people to, you know, rope into that, because then you could play more. But you know, there were a few people, but you know, so I think it's great. You know, it's used more. It's, yeah, a lot more people around. So I think it's great.
Do you have a favorite event, Regatta Week?
Now, no.
Then?
Well, then, I mean, the event was the winners' parties, because that was fun. Well, when you're a kid, you know, it's all sailing based, or, you know, the awards for, you know, the water sports stuff, you know, all the swimming, canoeing, stupid stuff that you do then, you know, that was fun. Model yacht racing, yeah, I won that a couple times with a boat everyone thought I cheated with, because I'd roll around and it'd follow me, because they're going, you got a string, don't you? Well, no, but yeah, so, you know, fun things like that. But they're still doing that, so that's great. Yeah, a lot of people, I assume. I didn't go today. Yeah, but as you get, you know, now it's like, yeah, it's geared more for younger participants, and I get that now that, you know, I'm getting older. I see why there weren't as many old people back then, just like there aren't now. You know, you know, the party is meant for younger people. I mean, not that there's anything, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. So, you know, we don't look forward to, you know, the ball like we used to, or, the winners party. I thought it was more fun when it was just winners and it was at somebody's house, because that way you got to see everyone's houses. But I can see why you can't do that now, because where would people park? You know, I mean, that's a huge problem. Yeah, I mean, it's back when there weren't that many of us, it was no big deal. Yeah, you figure out a way to get to so-and-so's house, because that's where the booze was. But yeah, moving into the yacht club, and that was fun. You know, I missed, you know, having to call up all your competitors and invite them to the party. And then more and more people started infiltrating, and it's hard to tell them, it's like, no, this is not your party. You know, you're really not welcome here. Yeah, but that didn't seem to deter
You mean
people.
the sailors' party?
The sailors, yeah,
Right.
the winners' party. Yeah.
Okay.
So once it went to the club, you know, why, you know, people figured, well, it's at the club, it must be open to everybody. So I miss that, you know, that would make it more special. You know, and it was right after, you know, I mean, soon after, about as soon after as somebody could go pick up the beer and stuff and, you know, get some ice and have a party. So, less of a production and more fun. But, you know, it works now, and it's safer. It was a little bit out of control back in the good old days. That's, can't do that nowadays, so that's good.
I have a question. You were kind of isolated here because there weren't many cottages around. There was a Thomas place, but their children were younger.
Yeah, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. So it was just you and Mommy that went on the camping trips, or you?
No, she never did.
Oh.
No, I mean, Gove was around, Woody Garnsey, you know, he was across over there.
Like,
You picked from, you know, I mean, you had a whole bunch of friends, and, yeah, I mean, you're picking from the whole lake, because those are the people you know, but there weren't as many of us then as there are kids now. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I'd hate to think of, you know, camping, but yeah, no, there are plenty of kids. Nah, I never went with Jeff, because he's 10 years younger, or, you know, 10, 11 years
well,
younger.
there's his older brother who's my age, but
Yeah,
that's still 4 or 5 years younger than you are.
Yeah. But, we didn't worry about age quite as much. It's like, well, you know, you're here, you're a body, you want to have fun, and so, yeah, so we would. But, yeah, you're right, but didn't matter, you're picking from the whole lake, so. But there are a number, quite a few cabins here, but, I can't think of too many people that, you know, my age to play with, and you're right, so they're all over there. So, yeah. What haven't we covered?
Well, we've done well. Is there any place you want to take us that we haven't talked about?
Not that I want to know.
Sounds like maybe
No.
there is. What does Grand Lake mean to you?
Well, this is, I've got lots of fun memories, both as a kid and as an adult. You know, this is a fun place to come. You know, it is. It was a camp for kids. It's a camp for adults. And you know, look at the scenery. I mean, where else can you sit on a lake? You know, on a Monday, you know, at 1 or whatever it is now, and there's hardly anybody out. You got this whole thing to yourself. I mean, I've been a lot of places, and this is really pretty tough to beat. So, yeah, that's what I love about, you know, being up here, because it's so special. It's different from other places that are more crowded, more commercial, more, you know,
It's not
whatever.
Estes Park.
But, you know, but look at also what we have is how many families have been here for generations, you know, and that's pretty unique too, although I'm sure there's plenty of that other places, and I just don't know it because you don't know that when you're visiting, you know, how long people have been around. But look at the families that have been here quite a while, you know, and I think that's pretty special too. People that get to enjoy that, you know, or people who are starting out, you know, or new neighbors who, man, they are loving this place to death. I mean, they got kids and they are using it the way it ought to be. You know, this is a kid place, and they've got every toy. They're out in the water. They're doing exactly what Grand Lake is for. You know, and that's what's, you know, that's special. So, yeah, that's why I keep coming up. You know, other than I don't see any downsides. You know, pretty easy to be up here. So, but we only come during the summer. Because this is not a winterized place, and it's cold and dark, and I think it'd lose some of its allure if, if you came here year-round, because people ask, it's like, so wouldn't you want to be here in the winter? It's like, no, I don't want to be here in the winter, because I don't want to do the drive all the time. Summer is fun, because we only are here maybe max 6 months. Usually it's 5 months out of the year that we actually use this. Because by the end of October, the sun's getting pretty low. It goes behind the mountain, and we came up two Christmases, for Christmas and New Year's. It took the first 3 days to get this warm enough so you could take your parka sort of off. And then it warmed up, so a good heavy sweater was pretty much okay. But, it is pretty here, but God, it's really cold here because it's dark. I mean, you had to walk out probably 50 feet out into the lake to get to the sun, no matter what time of day it was, So you go to town, and people over there, shirt sleeves and stuff, and I can see why, because it's banana belt over there. And you'd snowmobile back into here. Jesus, it's cold. Why would anyone do this? And so it is kind of funny when, all these people doing this now, it's like, well, good for you guys, but it is dark and it's cold here. I don't know why you do that. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that, right?
I have the same problem. You
Yeah.
don't get any sun.
Yeah, oh well, nobody does over here. I mean, you're almost worse.
But it's just an old log cabin, like.
Yeah. I mean, you're uninsulated, and
When your great-grandfather built this, was Jericho Road a road?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a road. It didn't work the way it does now. It's right past his, the house here. Right as you go across, the culvert that sometimes works and doesn't work, but the road went straight right along the shoreline because there were no homes there, no Grubers, no nothing, none of that until you got to Pricer's, and then the road went back up to where it is. So you came in right on that shore, and so you as a little kid, you go, oh yeah, we're there now, yay, there's the shore. And the road that you see now was sort of there as an old, I don't know why it had even been built. I mean, it was sort of a road, but then hadn't been used. It was trees and rocks and stuff in there, so they had to clear all that to be able to put the homes in that Gruber's did. And that was a long time ago. So, but the road was always there. It just wasn't plowed in the winter. We snowmobiled in when we came up here. Smack Russ sold us, a big old twin track with, a sled and then a smaller one. And so we'd make a bunch of runs, park the cars in town and load up the sled and come on over here. And we thought, it was a lot of fun until you got tired of being cold. But, we cut down a Christmas tree, made ornaments and, the whole thing. Did the experience, but we only did it twice. And we went, okay, that's enough. That's really crazy. But that's why we have that giant big old gas tank out there, because of course nobody's going to refill it, so you better have enough to make it all winter, because the plumbers, they went, we're not coming over here to shut this down, so once you commit, you're committed, so you better keep it heated enough so it doesn't all freeze up. So we did. So we had lots of leaks off the roof and huge big icicles because, just like, everything in here, that is the roof, and the same when you go into the house. So as soon as you heat it, all that snow just melts in a heartbeat. Man, and water just starts pouring off. So it'd take about 2 days, and you couldn't even see out of these windows because the icicles were so big. And the frost on the inside of the windows. You couldn't get that room warm enough to even melt the frost on the inside. So you just shut it off and you just go through it fast. Even after we put the baseboard heat system in, it's like, no, didn't help.
Do you have some favorite things in this house or favorite places in this house?
Do I? Oh, things? No. It's just old stuff. This is where stuff comes to, after it's been somewhere else. It's like all our cabins. It's, there's See, even that's a recreation of stuff. And about the only things that are original, you know, the light that's in the dining room now, but that used to be in the living room. It's like, nah, that'd be better there for a dining room light. Because otherwise there was just an old, funky old porch light, because it was a porch. Screened in porch. But, yeah, there's nothing, we don't, you know, intentionally we don't do anything all that fancy, because why? Yeah. There's the attraction.
It was a
Lake.
place to get out of the weather. You could have a place to sleep and eat,
Yep,
and you spent your time outside.
exactly. That's the whole point.
Okay, I'm gonna quit recording now.
I'll do too.